Hello and welcome back to CSX Wrensville. This video is on how I weather and ballast my track. If you may remember on the last video I posted, I did say that if anyone wanted to know how I did it on my layout, if they left a comment, I'd be quite happy to do a demonstration video. Well, someone did, that person being Mill Plains 1. So Mill Plains 1, this is for you, and of course if anyone else wishes to watch it, you're more than welcome to. So this is just my piece of track which is laid down for the demonstration purposes, just on a piece of plywood on the bench. And normally I would spray paint this with the Tamiya NATO Brown, but I couldn't find any in any of the hobby shops near where I live, and seeing that I only needed a short piece spraying anyway, or painting, I decided just to get the brush version. So that's what I use to start off. So I'm just going to open up the top, give it a quick stir just to agitate the paint, which is there like so. And then just using a paintbrush, just brush it on. You don't have to be particularly neat on this. Just like so. It doesn't take too long. Well, it does, of course, depending on how much you're doing. Using a can is so much quicker if you're doing a large area. But it goes on quite quickly. A small tip is, if you're ever going to have a layout that's only going to be viewed from one side, then you only need to cover the rails on the outside and the inner one. You don't need to bother doing this side and that side, because that way they won't be seen. I'm just going to do this just so long as the tops are done. That's fine. The thing I find with acrylics is they dry very quickly, and if you go back over them they do tend to drag. So one quick coating. You don't have to be particularly perfect, like I say. Obviously if you use a can it would be one even coating straight away, but with a brush you just have to go over it just a couple of times, like so. Just do this. It doesn't matter if you don't cover all the rails, because they're going to be painted anyway a rusty colour. So that's done. Just missed the rails there. Right, and the best thing about acrylics is they don't take very long to dry, and you can wash out the brush in just ordinary warm water. As you can see, it's already beginning to dry. So when that's dried off, I shall continue with the next step. Okay, so now the paint has dried, give a nice flat finish. I'm just going to take off the paint which is on top of the rails. To do that, just take a little bit of thinner. Actually it is a very little bit, there's hardly any in it, but it's just isopropyl alcohol, IPA, and you just put that on there like so, and just give it a quick clean off, and it comes off as easy as that. IPA is also very good for cleaning track as well, because it doesn't leave any residue. It evaporates very quickly, and it's relatively cheap as too, and it doesn't it's not like the abrasives. It won't scratch your real surfaces. So that is that done. You just got to be careful that you don't get it onto the ties, because it will take the paint off, which is not what you want to do, because it kind of defeats the object. So that is done. All nice and clean now. In fact, it doesn't matter, it's taking the paint off there a little bit, if you see. But it doesn't really matter, because it's going to get weathered anyway. So what I'm going to do now is what they call dry brushing. Now I'm sure everyone is familiar with the term dry brushing, but for those who aren't, basically it involves filling a paintbrush with paint and then wiping most of it off so you have a dry brush. So the colours I'm going to be using now are just colours I've had for years from doing military models and things like that. So I've got some linoleum deck brown, some dark grey, some flat earth, and some black. I'm just going to start off. I know that these two here, they're not that dissimilar to the colour that's already on, the shade that's on I should say, but it just adds a little bit of variation. So it's a quick stir like that, just to agitate the paint, and then what you can do is just get it off the sticker like that, get some on, right in, and then get a tissue and basically just wipe the bulk of it off, and then just, now I know you can't see the difference very well on here, but there is a slight variation on the shading. The best thing about acrylics is, especially when you're dry brushing, they dry virtually instantaneously. So that's a bit of that. I'll just put the lid back on this one. And have a bit of oh, we've got some red brown here as well. Need some red brown. You could wash out the paintbrush in between uses, but I don't, because I only use these for weathering anyway, and there's so little paint on them it doesn't really affect the main colour in the pot. So there, wipe that off. Again, just with that. To one side, and just look a bit off, and again it doesn't really look much on the video camera, but there is a slight subtle differences. Use the flat earth next. Very little of this left actually. Just to say, I'm doing this on the 4th of July. It's a Monday, it's my day off. So, to all American subscribers out there, happy 4th of July. Have a really good day. Enjoy yourself. Be safe. If you're going. I know what you're thinking. It doesn't look any different, but it does. It does. Finally, a bit of the old grey. I'm on holiday for the rest of the week, which is nice. The wife isn't, she's away. She's travelling down to Kent, and I'm going with her. So while she's at work doing what she does, I'll be sat in a pub having a pint, probably uploading this video, which is nice. I think the grey really sort of makes it. It doesn't look much now, but when it's dried, it does look quite good. Let's just have a little bit more grey on that. Sorry about that, I caught the camera and span you all round. So I'm going to edit that bit out. Otherwise you'll all be dizzy. Finally, just some black. I found the great thing about doing these videos is that I can talk to myself and my wife doesn't think I'm crazy. Well, she thinks I'm crazy anyway, but as I told her, I've been talking to myself since I was 3 years of age, and I'm 52 now, so I'm not about to stop. To be honest, I only do it to stop the voices in my head plotting against me. But now I can talk, and hopefully there'll be someone listening on the other end. You just put the black on. I put this on quite thick because what I'm going to do with that, this sort of gives a. The thing about it, this, is if you don't like it, or you make a mess, or you do too much or too little, you can just always go over it again. And if you get a little tissue and get too much there, just dab some of it off. Do you know what? I think I'm going to call that done. So I'm going to let all that dry off properly. And I'll be back in a mo.